Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivanadhari Gopi Janavalabha Girivanadhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Thira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pavikarajacharya Shotashata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 5, Text 7. So, sorry. Okay. Kridan Vidite Dvija Go Suranam Shemaya Karmani Avatara Bhedahi Manaha Na Triptyanti Api Shrinvatam Naha Sushloka Malahe Charita Amritani Kridan Vidate Dvijago Suranam Shemaya Karmanyavatara Vedahi Manona Triptyantyapi Shunvatana Shuslokamales Charitami Ritani Kridan Vidate Dvijago Saranam Kshemaya Karmanyavatara Vedahi Manona Tripyantyapi Shunvatam Naha Shrushlokamalescharitamritani Kridan vidate dvijagosharanam Shimaya karmanyavatara vedahi Manona tripyantyapi shinvatanam tamnaha Sushlokamalescharitamritani
Kridan vidata dvijago suranam Kridan vidate dvijago suranam Kremaya karmanyavatara vedai Kremaya karmanyavatara vedai Manona tripyat yapi shrinvatamnaha Manona tripyat yapi shrinvatamnaha Sushlokamalescharitamritani Sushlokamalescharitamritani Kridan vidate dvijago suranam Kridan vidate dvijago suranam Shemaya karmanyavatara vedai Shemaya karmanyavatara vedai Manona tripyat yapi shrinvatamna Manona tripyat yapi shrinvatamna Sushlokamalescharitam amritani Sushlokamalescharitamritani Kridan vidate dvijago suranam Kridan vidate dvijago suranam Shemaya karmanyavatara vedai Shemaya karmanyavatara vedai Manona tripyat yapi shrinvatamna Manona tripyat yapi shrinvatamna Sushlokamalescharitamritani Sushlokamalescharitamritani
Mataji's?
Vidate dvijago suranam Kremaya karmanyavatara vedai Manona tripyat yapi shrinvatamna Sushlokamalescharitamritani Kridan vidate dvijago suranam Kremaya karmanyavatara vedai Manona tripyat yapi shrinvatamna Sushlokamalescharitamritani
Okay. Word for word. Kridan, manifesting pastimes. Vidate, he performs. Dvija, twice born. Go, cows. Shuranam, of the demigods. Kshemaya, welfare. Karmani, transcendental activities. Avatara, incarnations. Vedahi, differently. Manaha, mind. Na, never. Triptyanti, satisfies. Api, in spite of. Shrinvatam, continuously hearing. Naha, are. Shushloka, auspicious. Malehe, of the Lord. Charita, characteristics. Amritani, undying. Okay, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. You may also narrate about the auspicious characteristics of the Lord and His different incarnations for the welfare of the twice-born, the cows, and the demigods. Our minds are never satisfied completely, although we continuously hear of His transcendental activities. The Lord appears in this universe in different incarnations like Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, and Nrsimha. And he manifests his different transcendental activities for the welfare of the twice-born, the cows, and the demigods. The Lord is directly concerned with the twice-born or civilized men. A civilized man is one who takes his birth twice. A living entity takes birth in this mundane world due to the union of male and female. A human being is born due to union of the father and mother. But a civilized human being has another birth by contact with the spiritual master, who becomes the actual father. The father and mother of the material body are so only in one birth, and in the next birth, the father and mother may be a different couple. But the bona fide spiritual master, as the representative of the Lord, is the eternal father, because the spiritual master has the responsibility to lead the disciple to spiritual salvation or the ultimate goal of life. Therefore, a civilized man must be twice born, otherwise he is no more than the lower animals. The cow is the most important animal for developing the human body to perfection. The body can be maintained by any kind of foodstuff, but cow's milk is particularly essential for developing the finer tissues of the human brain so that one can understand the intricacies of spiritual knowledge. A civilized man is expected to live on foodstuff comprising fruits, vegetables, grains, sugar, and milk. The bull helps in the agricultural process of producing grain, etc. And thus, in one sense, the bull is the father of humankind, whereas the cow is the mother, for she supplies milk to human society. A civilized man is therefore expected to give all protection to the bulls and cows. The demigods, or the living entities who live in the higher planets, are far superior to human beings, since they have better arrangements for living conditions. They live far more luxuriously than human beings, yet they are all devotees of the Lord. The Lord incarnates in different forms, such as those of a fish, a tortoise, a hog, and a combined lion and man, just to give protection to civilized man, the cow, and the demigods, who are directly responsible for the regulative life of progressive self-realization. The whole system of material creation is planned so that the conditioned souls may have the opportunity for self-realization. One who takes advantage of such an arrangement is called a demigod or civilized man. The cow is meant to help maintain such a high standard of living. The Lord's pastimes for the protection of the twice-born civilized men, the cows, and the demigods are all transcendental. A human being is inclined to hear good narrations and stories, and therefore there are so many books, magazines, and newspapers on the market to satisfy the interests of the developed soul. But the pleasure in such literature, after it is read once, becomes stale, and people do not take any interest in reading such literature repetitively. In fact, newspapers are read for less than an hour and thrown in the dustbins as rubbish. The case is similar with all other mundane literatures, but the beauty of transcendental literatures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is that they never become old. They have been read in the world by civilized man for the last 5,000 years, and they have never become old. They are ever fresh to the learned scholars and devotees, and even by daily repetition of the verses of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, there is no satiation for devotees like Vidura. Vidura might have heard the pastimes of the Lord many, many times before he met Maitreya, but still he wanted the same narrations to be repeated because he was never satiated by hearing them. That is the nature of the Lord's glorious pastimes. Om Agana Tamanam Dasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshurud Manitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Parakamalam Shingurum Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganavtam Itam Tam Shajivam Savadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saritam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Laritam Shri Vishakam Itam Sha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vikas Swamini Namane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nivishesha Sunivari Paskata Satarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So, you may narrate also about the auspicious characteristics of the Lord in his different incarnations for the welfare of the twice born, the cows, and the demigods. Our minds are never satisfied completely, although we continuously hear of his transcendental activities. So there's a lot of points in this purport. There's a lot of points in all of Srila Prabhupada's books, actually, which can be expanded upon unlimitedly. Just one small thing. Srila Prabhupada makes a point here about the human being, they have their biological parents, and then there's the spiritual parents. Particularly here, he mentions that when the human being is initiated by the spiritual master, then the spiritual master becomes the father. And we see also that, I believe on Srila Prabhupada's, one of his documents, he wrote that his father was Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So we can also meditate upon that to be initiated. We have our parents who gave the body, but then we have the real father, the spiritual master, who helps us actually utilize the body and gives us the transcendental knowledge by which we can come closer to Krishna, as Upanayam and all these things like that. So this is the position. Vidura, there's a lot of interesting points here. So one interesting point right off the bat is, so it's a simple point, but it's an important point. Vidura is interested to hear about Krishna. He's interested to hear about the pastimes. He wants to know more. It's mentioned here this Triptyanti, or sorry, not Triptyanti. What was it exactly? I'm not seeing it anymore. But anyways, it's not mentioned directly here. But it's just, this I think the word is Trishtya, which means like thirst or something. Prabhupada mentioned, I believe he kind of hints at that in the purport about satiation. But anyways, so Vidura is eager to hear. So in practicing Krishna consciousness, we should be mainly eager to hear about Krishna, about Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, about Krishna conscious things. My spiritual master wrote me a letter one time, and I came across that letter a couple days ago. But he was making the point that there's so many different things, controversies within the ISKCON society to get involved in. And that's also, and we don't have to go into details, but there may be different things that disturb our mind, and there may be things that we don't really care about. But there's different things which we can get disturbed about, or they can be difficult to understand, certain controversies. One controversy, which I don't think really anybody here minds so much, but the fall of the jiva, that was like a big thing for some devotees, and there was a whole book about it, and some people still feel very strongly about that subject. And Bhakti Vikas Maharaj gave a class on that, so I think everybody mostly heard that, and hopefully nobody's here is sensitive on that subject. But the point is that to just focus completely on that, and some devotees did like that, and some just on that basis of that left the movement and things. And one devotee was telling me when I first moved into the temple, because he was like very much like sensitive about that. And I mean, personally for me, like I never really like cared so much about that. It was just, I didn't really like see that as, Prabhupada said a couple things on that, and I read that, and then I was like, okay, like makes sense to me what he's saying. And that wasn't like a big controversy for me. I had my other things that was really sensitive about for years and years on end. And sometimes it's like that in Krishna consciousness. But anyways, my spiritual master wrote in that letter that there may be so many controversies, but the essence of our life should be, I'm paraphrasing, but it should be like Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. It should be, our main focus should be Krishna consciousness. So we see this with Vidura and this text. There's so many things he could have asked Maitreya about, like how long you've been growing your hair for or something. Or like, there's so many different things or whatever, or like, do you like, use what do you eat? I mean, are you like, you're like a, yogi or whatever. There's so many like useless things he could have asked, and then whatever. It could have been like interesting like that. But then the essence of it is he's asking about, Krishna. So one thing is that when we associate with sadhus or we associate with devotees, the bulk of our questions should go more in that direction and should be more Krishna conscious related. There may be some things here and there we may have to ask, whatever, this and that. Okay, the car's going in and this and that, and what's a good car, and then should we get a car that has good gas mileage, or is it better to get a car that has more room, or is it better to get this vehicle or that vehicle because we can pull this much or whatever, or we don't need to pull this much because if you do the math for the books. See, these things we may have to ask these things, and they may be relevant for the service, so it's fine, but we should avoid just getting into prajalpa, which is an instruction from Rupa Goswami in cultivating Krishna consciousness to avoid prajalpa and to associate with devotees. But to associate with devotees means to associate with devotees favorably. And Rupa Goswami goes on further to explain in text 4, tadati pratiginnati guyam akyakti prichati. So he explains that, so this is how you associate with devotees, that you reveal your mind and inquire confidentially, you get gifts, receive gifts, accept prasadam, give prasadam, like this. So this is the way to interact with the sadhus. But because by interacting with them, they can impart Krishna consciousness. We see also, Srila Prabhupada would tell the story of one individual who went to, I believe, Sanatana Goswami, and he asked for one of the most valuable things he had. I think he wanted some touchstone. Anyways, I forget exactly what he asked, but he asked for something very valuable. And Sanatana Goswami told him, okay, then the trash, there's like this touchstone. Anything you use to it will turn to gold. So then that man took it, and then he began to think a little bit that if it was so valuable, why was it in the trash? And so then he came back, and then he was like, I have this doubt. You told me the most valuable thing that you have was in the trash. Doesn't make, like you may say, like, Kalki, what's the most valuable thing that you have, like, in your life, whatever right now? And I said, yeah, you can go get it. It's just like, I just keep it like in the toilet. So you just go stick your hand in there and then you'll find it. And then if you put your hand in there and you found like whatever, like a whole big, huge diamond, you'd be like, wow, that's crazy. I mean, they'd be like, why you keep that diamond in the toilet? And be like, anyways, I don't really care about it. And you're like, well, then he was like, so then Sanatana Goswami revealed actually the most valuable thing is Hare Krishna, the Hare Krishna mantra. So and we see that also in Shastra, that when Virochana and Indra approached Brahma and asked, what is Atma? So Brahma began to explain that Atma is, the body, and Virochana was satisfied with that, and he left. And then Indra wasn't satisfied, so then he began to inquire further. And then Brahma instructed Indra further on Atma Gyan, of what is actually the self, the soul. So so the point is that in Krishna consciousness, we should understand the purpose of Krishna consciousness to become a pure devotee, to surrender unto Krishna fully, and to go back home, back to Godhead in this life. We shouldn't be satisfied with thinking that, well, I joined Krishna consciousness, so now I can live a comfortable life, or I can get a religious marriage partner, or I can live in this world and be peaceful. I was addicted to drugs before Krishna consciousness. Now I'm clean and I'm satisfied with that. So the point of Krishna consciousness isn't to say no to drugs or to be religious, but it's to become a pure devotee of Krishna. These things are there in the initial stage. We have to get off drugs and all these crazy things and avoid sinful activities to practice Krishna consciousness, to make advancement. But simply to avoid sin and to be materially pious is not the sole focus of Krishna consciousness. So the devotees, they understand that point and they explain that point. So Vidura is approaching in a similar manner also. Anyway, so many things can be expanded upon that. One thing now that's coming up is election day. So now they're like really pumping out everything, vote for this person or vote for that person. And there's only two choices. I think there's more choices, but it seems like there's only two. I guess what it boils down to. So it's election time and vote for this person or vote for that person. And some devotees are really sensitive about this point. And I've seen that also at different temples I've been in, that during this time being encouraged to go and vote, But the thing is that, it's just whether, the point is that this situation is temporary. And in the big scheme of things, in 100 years, and 200 years, and 300 years, the results of this election really won't be that important. There may be some things that go on, and you can say, anyways, I don't want to get so much into that. But the thing is that we have to understand that there's bigger laws at work than who comes into power and who doesn't. There's collective karma and things like that. And the demigods are controlling things, and people aren't free. We've seen that picture in the Bhagavad Gita of the three modes of material nature. It's just depicted as three different Montajis, and then there's two kind of like guys fighting, and they're like pulling the strings. So it's something like that. There's karma that goes on, there's collective karma, and so somebody may get into power and may wage war or something, and may be agitated, but it's just the contaminated nature of Kali Yuga. And so it's just kind of like dishing out that karma. So we can understand that. But anyways, in 300 years, whatever happens is not going to be that important. Sorry to say. But what will be important is understanding the Krishna consciousness, understanding Krishna's characteristics and our position in this material world and how to get out of it. So in the beginning of this purport, the main thing a couple main points that Prabhupada makes, he talks about the Dvijas, the Devas, and the cows. And how when Krishna incarnates, he protects them or, comes down for their welfare. Krishna comes down for everybody's welfare, but specifically these three things are important, as Prabhupada makes the point in the purport, for a regulative life of progressive self-realization. And we've heard these points very many times. It's been mentioned so much through Prabhupada's books, Brahminical culture. They give transcendental knowledge, and they spend their life studying the Shastra and explaining that Shastra for the benefit of others. And the demigods, they provide rains and such things, sunlight, so many different things so that life can be peaceful. Just like we saw recently, we didn't see so much, but Florida saw, and other parts of America, North Carolina, when these different hurricanes came. And I grew up in Florida, so there was always hurricane season. And so different hurricanes would come, and it would destroy so many things. And it was a big inconvenience. I remember one year a hurricane came. I think it was Charlie or something. Anyways, you probably don't know because who cares if you're not in Florida? But so one hurricane came, and then I think we were without power for like a week or so, which was kind of like whatever. And then we were out of school for a couple weeks, and people lost their houses. Things were flooded. People were devastated. The point is, it was an inconvenience. It wasn't convenient. When a hurricane came, it wasn't like, oh, great, like this is like just what I wanted. Like this is perfect. Usually you get out of school and you're kind of like, as a kid, you're kind of like happy, like you don't have to go to school, but then you're stuck inside and this and that. And then whatever, a tree may fall and destroy your house or destroy your car or something like that. So it's an inconvenience. And so the point is that these inconveniences are given by the demigods. It's not just like some random thing that's happening. You see that when the what's it called? There's that understanding is there, but that's not the complete understanding that you see when, I forget exactly, but when I believe it's like when the hot, whatever air system comes in contact with the cold, it creates like spin, and then it comes up and comes down and creates friction, and then it gathers whatever momentum and things, and then it becomes a hurricane, and then that gets more and more. And then we see, I remember one time they were saying one of the hurricanes, that it became like, it went from like just a tropical storm to a category 5 in like less than like whatever, like 24 hours or something. And they were just saying that was like unbelievable. Earthquakes also, we don't get that so much here. And California, I've heard they're famous for earthquakes. And different parts of the world, different calamities, tsunamis. I think earthquakes are also in Japan. And what else? There's volcanoes. So there's so many different things like that. So the demigods are in control of that. And so when they're displeased, then they unleash these things, which, like that. And then cows also. So cows, of course, they give milk. Prabhupada mentions bulls also. So many other things that the cow gives also, which is needed for human life. Milk is important because by drinking milk, when the brain develops, and one can understand spiritual subject matters more easily. But also too, what is this? But nowadays there's propaganda. I remember reading different things, but they mentioned that, well, actually these milk products are not good for your health because they have saturated fats. And these fats actually, if you take milk and all these different things, it'll give you heart problems and you'll have a heart attack or something. So then they put this propaganda. But then if you go and you eat at McDonald's every day and Burger King and all these fast food restaurants, it's very healthy. Because it's not these fats or whatever they cook in I don't know what, I don't even know if they cook in canola oil even. Probably just whatever falls out of the car they cook in. So it's backward civilization. But anyways, we understand from Srila Prabhupada's purports, which is giving the proper light on all these different things, that to drink cow's milk is a natural way of life. But of course, on the other hand, they pump all types of crazy things into cows and into the cow milk in order to make it, quote unquote, I wouldn't say healthy, but economically viable. And then they say terms like that, economically viable and things, but really it just means poisoning the food and ripping it of all of its nutritions and such things. And anyways, there's so many different documentaries and things about this. Is common knowledge. Everybody knows these things nowadays, that all these things they spray. So it's important to study Srila Prabhupada's books and to get into the right vein of things and understand the actual proper cultural understanding of Krishna consciousness. And then also we're living in this Western world, so then applying that and such things. So Krishna incarnates in different incarnations to protect this culture. Just like, for instance, there's so many different things. I'm thinking of one in particular, but when Ramchandra Bhagavan went to Dandakaranya, different sages approached him and surrendered unto him. And so he protected those sages and freed them from disturbances, because they were executing their sacrifices, but then there was different demons which were disturbing those sacrifices. Specifically in Dandakaranya was Kara and his associates. And so Ram was there, and Surpanaka, anyways, the story to get so much into that, but she came and she approached Ram, and she wanted to marry him. And anyways, it's a funny story. It's actually described that when she came, she's a Rakshasi, so anyways, generally they're not so pretty, pretty ferocious features if you read the Bhagavatam and see, just like we see with Putana, when she was killed, she had some super long form and some coppery hair and things, and she was pretty ugly. And that picture is also there, you know. But anyways, but Shurpanaka, she took a form that was very beautiful, and so she approached Ram and like that, and wanted to, you know, marry him. And then, you know, Ram was like, you joking in a way by saying, you should just marry my brother. You know, I'm here with my wife and things, and like, you go. And then she went to him, and then there was some joke, and then went back, and then she got a little agitated, and then she was, you know, criticizing, you know, who's this woman you're with, you know, she's so ugly, this and that, you know, I'll just eat her up. So then she went to go and actually eat Sita. And so it was at that point that like Ram was like okay, like now it's time to like be punished. So that's the thing. And then the Acharyas give different imports and understanding of that, but it's just that Ravan's mentality. Well, not even that, it's just that, you know, of disregarding the Supreme Personality of God, his devotees or his consorts, like that. So anyways, she went to attack Sita, and then Ram disfigured her. And so she ran back to Kara, you know, freaking out. And then Kara was like, I'll go and I'll attack, you know, I'll kill this Ram. And anyways, so Ramachandra killed all those Rakshasas, described 14,000 Rakshasas, and he killed them in 3 muhurtas, I think 3.5, yeah, 3. Pretty much in, I believe, 72 minutes. And anyways, it was a gruesome scene. So the thing is that, so Ram was protecting the sages that had surrendered onto him in Danakaranya. So we also see, so Matsya, there's different accounts given of Matsya avatar, one's mentioned here. There's in the Bhagavatam, we get the history of Kshatriya Vacharaj. So the inundation was to happen, and so Matsya came, and anyways, the Vedas were protected, and he got on the boat and was saved, and the rishis and different things like that. And Kurma, we see also this, what is this, Mandara mountain. In the 8th canto, it's described that had fallen into the ocean, and so all the demigods and demons were worried about how we're going to turn the ocean. So then Kurma came and then position that on his back. And then Varaha also, that'll be narrated later, and Nrsimhadev. So this is the position. And then it's inspiring to hear that, because we hear those things and we see how Krishna protects his devotees, and how he interacts with the devotees, and how he helps them. And it also shows us too another dynamic, which we were speaking about earlier, that Krishna is helping the devotees, the demigods. But the main purpose which the Acharyas bring out is that the Krishna is helping and protecting his devotees, but this material thing is not the main thing. To be reestablished in one position as a demigod. So subservice is there, and that's needed, that's their position, and that's the laws that Krishna sets up. But we see also in the 6th canto, when with the problem with Vritasura, the demigods are praying for help, and they're praying that, you know, we should be praying to you for liberation, but we're attached. And so we're praying for material things. Please forgive us. So this should make an impression on our consciousness, and not that we're praying for Krishna for material things. The protection may be there, but our consciousness be in the way that let us be protected to execute Krishna consciousness, not let us be protected because I'm scared, or, you know, I don't want to suffer, or, you know, I want money, or whatever it is. It's one level of Krishna consciousness, but we should understand that we should be aiming for the topmost. Srila Prabhupada makes the point at the end of this purport about reading, and it's an important point. So he makes the point here that so human beings inclined to hear good narrations and stories, and therefore there are so many books, magazines, and newspapers on the market to satisfy the interests of the developed soul. And so that's a common thing, that people are naturally inquired to hear about something wonderful. And that's why, you know, like, for instance, you know, I don't know what's the biggest movie now, but like the biggest movies are generally like some, you know, have like some amazing plot line and amazing effects. And it's like usually like some of those top ones are like the superhero movies or whatever. And people go and they hear them and they're like thrilled and excited. Usually there's not like really a movie there where it's just like some guy, living on the country and like, whatever. He lives on the country with his wife and 2 kids in Utah, and he's a corn farmer, and like that's like the plot of the movie. There's no movies like that. That's not really like something people are so fired up and eager to hear. So people, they want to hear something amazing. They want to hear something wonderful, something spectacular. And it's entertainment. It's a multi-million-dollar business. It's huge. Hollywood, it's like people go to Hollywood, and so many actors and things like that. And actors, especially nowadays, are super famous. It's like whatever you throw names, whatever. Like people, I'm so lost. I don't know the recent actors, but I know like back in the day, it was like Brad Pitt was like really famous, Angelina Jolie. Tom Cruise, these American actors. I don't know any outside of America, but like that. And then also, so that's like a big thing. And then in the music industry also, and people freaking out and lining up, and then whatever. I'm sure also there's Star Wars craze and things like that, and so it's a big thing. People want to hear something interesting, but Prabhupada makes the point that people. They whatever, but they get a little bit of pleasure in those literature. So they say, but the pleasure in such literature after reading it once becomes stale, and people do not take any regular interest in reading such literature repeatedly. So it's like that, and people, they watch a movie or they read some book, and it's like so amazing, and it's like, wow, that was like the best movie ever. Like, did you believe that? Like this happened, that happened, and then that was like crazy. And I know that too, because I used to like read so many different books and watch so many different movies. And at least for me, like my favorite movies were like those movies that like whatever it was, like I forget the exact what they would call them, but it was just like there'd be like some crazy twist, and it was just like you couldn't never like expect it. And there's so many movies like that. And there's one particular author who would like that was like he would, all the books he would write would like be like that. So then I like read all of his books because they were always like some crazy like twist or something like that. And so, but then it's like you read it and then you like figure out like that twist or whatever, and then it's just like, oh, then you like know it, and then you read the book again, but then it's like Prabhupada's making the point here, it becomes stale, and that's a fact. Or you watch the movie and then it's like, okay, then you've seen it once, and then it's like, all right, and you see it twice, it's like, okay, and then it's like at a point, it's like, all right, I don't want to watch that movie anymore. I've seen it so many times, and that happened too, just like previously in the 60s. With Beatlemania. So people were going crazy about the Beatles, like a whole historical thing, term Beatlemania. So I remember seeing like videos and like literally like they would go and like be playing on a concert, but then all like the girls would just be like screaming. And literally they'd just be like screaming, and then they would try to play, but they couldn't play because like girls were just like screaming because they were like in Beatle ecstasy. And so then like you could, anyways, I've seen like, so because I used to be in all that nonsense. But then like the videos is there, and then it's like the Beatles are on stage, and then they're kind of just like, okay, like what are we supposed to do? Like we can't play, and then just people are screaming, and it's just kind of like awkward. So then it's like that. But then now it's like Beatlemania is finished, and people don't care about that anymore. And then it also too, it backfired because John Lennon made that statement that the Beatles are more whatever famous than Jesus, and then after that, the people hated them. They freaked out, and then there's like also that's there too. You see these bonfires, and people are throwing like their Beatles records in there and all their paraphernalia, and they're fried out. They love one day, next day, hate the next day. So that's on the material platform actually. So many different things like that. And so then that's like that, and it becomes stale. And then also too, even John Lennon was making the point, and later in his life that like. He was getting tired of just like singing these songs that they were first singing. So even it was becoming stale to him, and he was saying, I don't want to be like singing these songs anymore. Like, I'm tired of this. And then they also too, anyways, I don't want to analyze all that. But they got tired of all that. And so they got tired of it, the people got tired of it, and moved on. So the point is that this is on the material platform. And Prabhupada gives the amazing observation of the newspapers. And I would see that growing up because we would have a, recycling, like little bin. It was like a small one. It was just like whatever, like some box. So anyways, my grandfather would get the paper and they would read it and then whatever. Then it was my job to like throw it in the bin outside. And so every day we'd just throw that paper outside and then it would get huge and then the recycling would come and take it. And so it's a fact. You read the newspaper, it's relevant for one day, then it becomes completely useless the next day. And anyways, it's yesterday's paper, so they're useless. But the thing is that that's not the case with Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. And we all have practical experience of reading Srimad Bhagavatam and reading Bhagavad Gita and reading Srila Prabhupada's books, that we read that and we become more and more inspired. I remember when I first moved to the temple, they told me that this is like transcendental literature, and then like that, and you read it, and it doesn't become still, and you can read it over and over again. But when you're new and you hear that, it's like, okay, like, sounds like cool. But then like, when you actually like read the books, you read Bhagavad Gita, and then you read it again, and then you read it again, you realize it's actually a fact, that it is transcendental, and that there's newer and newer meaning there. And that it's just, the thing is that these books are, they're not just books, they're personalities. Krishna is literally revealing himself according to our surrender, according to our qualification, according to our level, according to our faith, so many different things. Krishna is revealing himself when we read the books, and showing different things, and how to understand him, and how to understand his devotees more, and how to understand Krishna consciousness. It's a transcendental fact. So we see like here, Prabhupada's making the point with Vidura. He was saying it's understood that Vidura heard these pastimes, he says, many, many times before. It's understood. It wasn't like, tell me something new about Krishna. Tell me something new. I've heard about Vrahadev. Anything new? Is there like another Vraha? Yeah, he killed Haranyaksha. I mean, anything else? I mean, come on, Prabhu, I know this already. Sometimes we say like that in Krishna consciousness. Someone tells us something. Prabhu, I know already. I know. You're telling me to do, I know what it says in Bhagavad Gita, contemplating the object that the senses become attached. I've heard that already. Prabhu, I've heard that. I want to hear some nectar, or whatever. I know this already, or whatever it is may be doing. You're being a little too, tough on book distribution. Chill out a little bit. I know, okay, yeah, or whatever. Or maybe you should chill out a little bit. Yeah, okay, yeah, whatever. And it says this in the Bhagavad, yeah, I've heard this already. Yeah, Guru Maharaj says this. Yeah, he says that. Yeah, Prasadam's not, material, spiritual. I know already. Thank you very much. So we can have that kind of attitude in Krishna consciousness. And we don't see Vidura having such an attitude. He's eager to hear. We also see in the Srimad Bhagavatam that Sukadeva Goswami makes the point that, I'm going to explain Ramachandra's pastimes in brief. You've heard them already, but explain them a little bit more. I was thinking about that a little bit previously, but one reason is that, to explain Lord Ramachandra's pastimes is huge work, and the Ramayan's there for that. And that was, Sukadeva Goswami is going to explain Krishna's pastimes, and Maharaj Parikshit only has so much time, so he just he's like, you've heard these things already, I'm just going to explain this in brief, touch on the essence. And then, of course, when he's explaining, because Maharaj Parikshit's heard already, all those different things remembers, say a couple things here and there. Just like sometimes there's these different, like we chant sometimes, Yashavanti Nandana, or whatever. There's other things like that, like songs which they mention a couple words, like one or two words, but then that's explains a whole canto or something of Ramayan, or a whole part of it. Just for instance, we may say one thing, Sita was in the Ashok Grove. And so there's so many different things that can be elaborated upon that. Or Krishna and Dwarka. It's how many things went down in Dwarka with Krishna. So that. So in brief, that was being explained. But anyways, we should be wary of this mentality. So just before getting more into that, so Prabhupada here, so just a couple things. So it's important to read Srila Prabhupada's books regularly and to read them repetitively. All of Srila Prabhupada's books, because the thing is that if we read Prabhupada's books just once, there's a couple reasons not to read Prabhupada's books just once. But we may not understand this point actually, that they're actually transcendental. We may read through them once and okay, I've read Bhagavad Gita, I understand. And we may take it as just some, whatever, just some regular book. That you read it once, through, you understand, okay, next book. But these books they're meant to be studied. We should read them, and that helps refresh our intelligence and purify our intelligence. But we also, by reading the books, we're associating with the predecessor acharyas, and we're associating with Krishna directly. If there is any adversity, there may be some we may not like to read, this and that. There may be different things there, and we should work on that. But if we're not inclined to read the different books which are describing about Krishna or the nature of devotional service, then we should maybe look that there may be something wrong in our approach, that we don't want to hear or associate in that way, because we associate with Krishna in the beginning stages by hearing, not by seeing. Hearing is more important in beginning stages. And then by hearing properly, then we can chant properly. So we can read things, read them a few times, become familiar, just like the point was being asked, like should we do an in-depth study of the books or like that. But if we read the books and we may not understand something, but we go through it and try to understand the complete subject matter, that'll be helpful, because then we'll understand the context of things more. Just like if it's your first time reading this canto, you can get a little confused and get a little lost. And it'll get some technical here pretty soon, talking about like the secondary creation, visarga, and then the elements coming and all these different things like that. It'll get a little tricky. But anyways, read through that and go through it. And then by reading repetitively, these things will become easier to understand. And another important point also, not that this moves so much here, but of just jumping around and reading different things. One important aspect is that it's important to have someone to guide us in what we read and what we should read and what we shouldn't read, because there may be things that we're interested to read, but they may not actually be relevant for our Krishna consciousness, actually, or for whatever line of preaching we're doing. So we should be aware of that and take guidance and read what's relevant for where we're at and what will actually help us, because some things may be transcendental, but some things may help us more, some things may help us less on the current stage of Krishna consciousness we're in. Like it may be more relevant to hear about giving up sense gratification and controlling the senses and trying to elevate oneself to the mode of goodness than about, anyways, that's there also. We can discuss, but of the taste of the yogurt that Mother Yashoda makes for Krishna. That's also there. We should hear, but that may not be so relevant all day, every day at the stage that we're at. That is relevant in the highest sense, but we have to be practical of where we also are at currently. Slokas also, so we should be learning slokas in Krishna consciousness. That's important. And there's so many different slokas. And in the Bhagavad Gita specifically, there's very many. Ham sarvasya prabhavo. There's many different things. Dehi nosmin yata dehe. We should be learning these slokas, but also it's important to learn some slokas. You pull up a sloka here. I'll give you one. I think it's just go to Canto 5, Chapter 6, and go to the index. But we should learn these slokas which contain philosophical points, and that's important for preaching and things like that. But it's also important to learn slokas in which, go to verse 5, I believe. But it's also important to learn slokas which are actually relevant and which help us where we're at in Krishna consciousness. Now this verse in particular, and a couple verses here, I haven't memorized them yet, but at least for me, it's pretty relevant. So Rishabdev says here, so the mind is the root cause of lust, anger, pride, greed, lamentation, illusion, and fear. Combined, these constitute bondage to fruit of activity. What learned man would put faith in the mind? And so this is relevant for me, and you can keep it here just for now. I may refer to the previous verse, but in the sense that we probably have all had the experience about the mind misleading us and tricking us and things like that, and just getting carried away with the mind, and so many other things. I'm just citing this here as like a point. And so when we learn slokas that are relevant to our own life and our own situation, and maybe that sloka may not be so relevant in a Bhagavatam class or something like that, or like a preaching point, like I'm going to get up and quote this sloka and that sloka. There may be slokas which are more relevant to where we're at, or struggles we're having, or maybe things that we're inspired in Krishna consciousness. Maybe, for instance, like we read a certain pastime, and we really like that pastime or something. So then we can memorize that sloka, or if we're having a difficulty and that applies to us, we can memorize that sloka. We can memorize that point, and we can meditate upon that, and that'll help us in our Krishna consciousness. Just like here, so many different times in my life I had trouble with the mind. And I remember reading this one time and I was going through some stuff. And it just like really summed it up that like, really makes it clear, like, should I, should I trust my mind or whatever? And then it's like, you remember that sloka there, that like, okay, so the mind's the root of like lust, anger, pride, greed, lamentation, illusion, and fear. So then it kind of like, yeah, so like, maybe I shouldn't trust my mind. Or whatever, someone's telling you like, you're just like following your mind, like you should just chill out, relax, like don't do it. And then this may kick in. There's another verse also. Anyways, we'll pull it up. So go to 11th canto, I think it's 26th chapter. There's Aila Gita. This is also like another like good one for me. And let's go to the index. I forget exactly what verse it is. I think it's like 14 or something. Go a little slow. Go down. No, it's furthermore. He's going to get to the conclusion. 14? 15? I don't. Keep going. Keep going. I might have missed it. It might be more up. Let me see. Sorry, I should have been more prepared. Scroll down. Keep going. Keep going. Oh, I can't find it. Anyways, whatever. We don't need to have it up exactly. So, anyways, this Aila Gita. This is in the 11th canto. So, Puruvara, for those who don't know, he became enchanted by a very beautiful woman, Urvasi, who is Apsara, one of the most prettiest girls in the universe, Miss Universe. And so she was created, I believe, by Narayan when the demigods went to go bewilder him. And so they were like, they brought some beautiful women, and then he was like, well, I'm going to show you the most beautiful woman. And so he created, and then he's like, take her, she's all yours. And so anyways, she holds a special place in Indra's court. But anyways, I wish I could find exactly where this verse was. Anyways, if you want to try to find it, he's saying like, what's the use of like one's austerity, one's like penance, one's like tapasya, like that. I forget the exact like Sanskrit. Education. I think someone was saying. But anyways, yeah. So click that. Okay. So you can keep on the Sanskrit. So that was like his whole story. And so, anyways, it wasn't his whole. So, anyways, he became attracted to her. I don't forget exactly how he became attracted. I think she came down and saw. But anyways, there's a whole story. I don't want to get into all the details of that. So, anyways, they like got together, and she made like a condition that like I'll stay with you, and like I'll love you forever on one condition. Like she gave a couple conditions. One of her conditions was she was only going to take food cooked in ghee. That was her, because the devas only take food cooked in ghee, not coconut oil, not sesame oil, not canola oil, not all these. They only do ghee. Maybe they have some other type of oil for like pickles and things. I don't know. Anyway, so I have to like go there and find out. Maybe we don't want to find out. So anyways, like that. So she was saying, I only take food cooked in ghee. And like that, and so okay, no problem. He was a king, so like okay, I can do that. It's like I can do ghee, So that was like her condition, and then she also gave a condition that I think she gave 3 things. I forget all of them, but she had like I think some lambs or something, some little animals, and she was like, you have to like protect my animals, and then like you can only come before me naked, like for when we're gonna enjoy. And so that was like, okay, like that makes sense, because like otherwise why would he be naked? It's like it's like all lining up. It's like perfect. It's like everything you could possibly want, like the most beautiful girl in the universe, and then just like simple things. And she just wants to eat ghee. It's like this is like amazing. So anyways, things are going good until like Indra's feeling like, like there's like Urvasi's not here, and like I'm just, this beautiful girl, like, what, I need her back in my court. And so anyway, so they pretty much, they steal that lamb, and so she's freaking out, and she starts like chastising him like anything, like, you freaking nonsense man, like, go get that lamb, like, what are you, you're nothing, you're useless. And so I think he was like sleeping or something, woke up, so he's like a little dazed, and then kind of just like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. And then he gets up, and like he runs out, and like he grabs his sword, and then like, what's it called? But then he forgets to grab his clothes, so he's naked. And so he comes out, and like Urvasi, and then there's like a strike of lightning, and then like, so Urvasi sees him naked, and she's like, forget that. And so she leaves, and he's like, and then he's freaking out, and he goes crazy, and anyways, the whole thing, but he like tries to find some like replacement, but then it's like, even like the second most beautiful girl in the universe is not enough. He's still like longing for her. And so he's like, goes through like a heartbreak. And like, anyways, think everybody in the world knows about heartbreak. So he goes through like a heartbreak. He's so disturbed, and like he's begging her, like, please come back to me, like I'll treat you good, it's like the same story, like I'm gonna change. Like I'm a new man, like believe me, like everything I'll do it, like, like I'll never be naked again, like, inappropriately. But she's like not into it, and then she tells, like that, like the sting, like, like why are you like gonna trust me, just like a sly fox, and like so, and then like that, and then just like playing with him. So anyway, she's like, okay, like I'll meet with you like one day a year, like I'll like that. But then that's not enough, one day a year, because then the other, is in separation, but not separation like how Radha and Krishna are in separation, but he's in another separation. So then anyways, so he does a sacrifice and he goes, whatever to enjoy. So then anyways, the Ila Gita given in this, in the 26th canto, he kind of has a realization that like, what the heck was I thinking? And like, I was so attached to this woman. And then it's not just like, he doesn't like go and like, forget her, like she's a nonsense, she's a, a prostitute, this and that. Like, he's like, I messed up actually, and like it's my fault. Like it's not her fault. Like I became attached. So he has a proper understanding. But anyways, he quotes this sloka. So kim vidyaya kim tapasa kim tagyena shrutendava kim tvaktena manonena shribir yashya manohritam. So what is the use of a big education or the practice of austerities and renunciation? And what is the use of studying religious scriptures, of living in solitude and silence, if after all that one's mind is stolen by a woman? So anyways, I learned this sloka because it's like relevant in my life. And so it's, anyways, I'm sharing some of these things. And there's other slokas also. I'm citing some of these. These are kind of like more relevant in the sense of like struggles in Krishna consciousness. But some of these, so these things that are in Shastra, these stories and these narrations are meant to help us. And so we can get encouragement for that. And then we can see Puruvara, that like, he overcame that. Someone's taking a screenshot of that, huh? Anyways, no problem with that. But you can see it's like the point is that like this may not be like every day you give in class and this is like a sloka that like justifies like the be and end all of Krishna consciousness, but it can be like relevant sometimes in Krishna consciousness if we're going through certain things and it's helpful. And there's other verses also like that in the Bhagavatam, and then there's other slokas which describe like the Brahma Samhita is also very nice. Chintamani Pakada Sadmasu, it's describing like the nature of Krishna in the spiritual world. That's like amazing. It's like, hey, why not memorize that? And like understand that. And we may not be like, we should try to learn slokas, but if like it's really, really difficult for us, I think it'd still be good to memorize some of the English also. That way we have something to meditate upon. And then we see these different things, and the pictures are there also, but just to have that meditation, because that will help us in Krishna consciousness. And there's so many different things just with the mind, and there's so many different things in Shastra that we can be inspired by. There's one thing I read, I'll just pull it up here. It's just some random verse from the Ramayana, but I read it and I really liked it, and it's like got like a little secret import to it. Let me see if I can find it here real quick. Let me see here. Oh, I think it's right here. So, anyways, I'll just read it, and I'll read the Sanskrit. So, Jyotishnash Tushara Malina Purnamashyam Narajate Siteva Chatapa Shama Lakshyate Natu Shobate. So the translation is, so even on Purnima, the moonlight contaminated by snow does not shine and does not look beautiful. Devoid of its natural complexion, such a night seems to resemble Sita Devi. And so anyways, I read that and I was like, oh, that's like nice. So I was like, anyways, just try to like learn it. And so the Acharyas give like the point, like the purport of that verse, and it's describing that like pretty much what will happen is that Ravana will come and steal Sita. And so like that, so like the moon, like it's like the moonlight is devoid, but then it's an amazing thing because then she'll be saved again and like that. So they give like the understanding of like that sloka. like that. And then anyways, there's some commentary here. But it's just like some nice thing, and there's so many different things like that. There's also this Chora Astakam, and that's very nice. And, like with Krishna and the thief, we're reading this Damodar Astakam, that's very nice. There's so many different like nice things and inspirational things in Krishna consciousness which are there, which we can read and we can learn and we can study and we can repeat for our own benefit. And that'll be nice to us too, because then we'll become attracted to the nature of Krishna, or we'll be able to overcome obstacles. And there's so many different slokas like that. And we can, and the point is, I would say it's good to be inspired. That's the main thing. If we read something and we're inspired by that, then we should, learn that or go for that. Because there's so many different things. If we're inspired by that, and it may be relevant, it's probably relevant for our spiritual life, and it can help us, and it'll help. It's when you're inspired to do something or enthusiastic, then you do it. And, it helps. It like gives you like a little like fuel or whatever, a little push. And it's nice. And the thing is that ultimately we want to be inspired in Krishna consciousness, to serve and to please the spiritual master and all those different things like that. So it's kind of like another point. Let's see here. I had like some other point, but I may not even touch on that. But just one last point, I guess I'll maybe tie that in. One aspect in Krishna consciousness also, which is important, and something we should meditate upon, and it'll be different for every individual, but it's something we should make note of, is that taking responsibility in Krishna consciousness. And now that will be different for different devotees and different inclinations and different propensities and all those different things. But the point is that we come to Krishna consciousness, we're made fortunate by devotees, they give us their time, they give us instructions, they help us time and time again. So many different things. We're indebted to the devotees, we're indebted to the spiritual master. So when we come and, they cook prasadam, so many different things. So many different things when we come into the temple are facilitated for us to take up to the process of Krishna consciousness. So after some time, we should take it upon ourselves to make facilities for others also to have the same experience. Whether that means we learn to cook, whether that means, we learn to, manage something, whether that means, that we speak with devotees and give them our time, or whatever it is. There may be so many different things. We help devotees. There's so many different, brahmacharis need help, grihasta needs help, vanaprastha needs help, sannyasis need help, everybody needs help. Whoever we can help, educating, gurukul, whatever it is, managing a restaurant. There's so many different things, but the point is that we should come to Krishna consciousness. In the beginning, we take a lot, okay, and that's fine. But then we should start to give a lot also. That, okay, I was given all these different things. I was given the opportunity to read these books. Okay, let me distribute them. I took so many Sunday feasts down like crazy, like 2-3 plates, like nothing. So much halva, drinking cups of sweet rice. Heck, maybe let me make the sweet rice for the Sunday feast, we should think like that or come to that. Because it's important, and that's what Srila Prabhupada wanted. This movement is volunteer movement. Nobody's here by force. You have to be here or whatever. Nobody's bound. We come and we render devotional service by our own will. So we should think and move and figure out what we can do. Just devotees that move into the temple, and just like Jana Maharaj was explaining the other day, he moved in and I think he was getting shaved up, and then they were like, "Where are you from?" And he mentioned his town, and like, "Oh, we don't have a center there. Maybe you can open a center in like 2 weeks." And he was like, "Oh, that's pretty far out." But there's just like that mood of like, okay, coming and then go back out there and give Krishna consciousness and help others become Krishna conscious. So that's what it's that's expected actually of us in the Gaudiya Sampradaya. It's in the beginning of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's described that the associates of Lord Chaitanya, they would take contents from the storehouse of love of Godhead and distribute it. And then when they came back, they realized there's more there. So they would do like that. So that's our mood, is that, we try to give Krishna consciousness to anybody and everybody. Everybody and everybody. And whoever will take it. And so that, the thing is that these things is not just limited to I can't take up any responsibility because I'm not good. I can't be like a big manager or a temple president or whatever. It's like you can take up responsibility. You can help with like the books or whatever. The book order has to come in. There's so many different things, that have to be taken care of. The kitchen, there's, there's boga has to be there. That has to be gotten and arranged. There's construction, things like that. Who's going to go to West Sankirtan Pot, this and that. There's like so many things that have to be done. So the point is to take responsibility and to grow up and to help others, and just to kind of understand that point. You may be going out on Sankirtan one day, and then next week you may be deciding where other people are going out on Sankirtan, or you may have to train up new people on Sankirtan, or whatever, or you may be in charge of a Sankirtan van, or a couple Sankirtan vans, or like the whole Sankirtan department, or dealing with the book orders, or whatever it may be. But we shouldn't be afraid to take responsibility in Krishna consciousness, and we should take that and know that that is good for us. So anyways, I'll stop there. I have some other things to say, but I don't really want to get into that, and time is limited. So Hare Krishna.
I was hearing about Srila Prabhupada was saying that we should pretty much like fully memorize his books, like know everything in them, and I was hearing about the importance of that a lot, like within this last week. And I was wondering, it's because you were talking about reading the books and like absorbing what we read, and I can read them, but I don't like absorb it so much. But then when there's something in like a school type of setting, where you have like quizzes and tests and worksheets, then like information seems to kind of stick.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, like, how can we really, if we're not so much like self-motivated to, make something like that to get ourselves to remember things, like how can we really learn his books in the way that he's saying, like you should memorize, you should know like everything that's in all of the books, all of his books.
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada said that. You should know my books like a lawyer knows the law books.
Yeah.
And there's some devotees like that, actually. You met Madhavendra Puri, Prabhu?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like he has like the books memorized. And then Prahlad Nanda Maharaj also, I think he memorized Krishna book. Some people have that propensity. The main thing I would say is I think it would be according to one's ability, because some people have easier time memorizing things than others. But we should be familiar, at least, with what Prabhupada says and kind of be able to like locate it. Like if there's some question or something, like be able, okay, like I know where to find it at least. Like it's in like whatever, like, okay, what, where is like Krishna, like Krishna danced on Kaliya's head, like where is that at? I mean, like, is it in the 2nd canto, or is it in Bhagavad Gita? Or like we should know, okay, it's in the 10th canto. And then like and then we can find it. Like we shouldn't like be that clueless. But like that, different things are there, Bhakti Shastri and things like that to help devotees study. The main thing though, of course, is that, we should study, and of course for preaching and things like that, but not become overly obsessed with just acquiring knowledge and just like presenting like an intellectual thing. I was listening to Manidhar Prabhu the other day. He was making the point about like, speaking should come from like the heart, like that. And like we should be speaking from that platform, Krishna consciously. Not that like just giving a class, and that may be there and that may be needed, but it's just like really intellectual. And he was just saying like that some people, they give a class and it's really intellectual, then all you have to say after that is like, oh, very nice. And like he was saying, but there's no like change of character. People don't become more inspired to like surrender. So like those are like the main things that like, okay, like if we study all these books and like we learn all these things, then like the result should be like, okay, like I need to surrender more. I need to give sense gratification. I need to like give this knowledge to people. And like we read everything, and then like we get, and we like, it's been, okay, whatever. Prabhu has been in Mayapur for 3 years, and like now he's giving class, and it's like, all right, like I'm gonna unleash upon you like all this knowledge I know. And then like this and that, and like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes the point in like Canto 3, Chapter 5, Text 6, and this and that in the Sanskrit. It's like we're not like it's like the Bhagavatam class isn't for like a show. It's for one of the qualifications, like to sit on the Vyasasana to speak, is that one should be like humble, so that one is representing his spiritual master and doing it as a service. Not that one like I am qualified to sit on this Vyasasana. So therefore, it's like like that. So that like mood of service has to be there, but it may be different for different people. Like we have to see what works for us. But yeah, I don't know if that helps.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So. Anything else?
Hare Krishna. You were mentioning like this taking up responsibility in Krishna consciousness, how eventually it should sort of come to that point where you sort of start to give back and start to do more.
Yeah. I forgot to mention one point. Sometimes you're forced the responsibility. Yeah, continue.
Yeah, so my question was sort of how do you best deal with like a responsibility that you're given that you feel like you're not qualified for?
We have to see. I mean, if we feel like we're not qualified for something, but everybody else feels like we're qualified for it, then we probably are qualified. We have to see if we're actually like feeling humble or if we're just feeling like, I don't want to do this. Because there's a big difference between just like mode of ignorance and then like actual genuine like humility. And so then the Acharyas also speak about that there's like transcendental, what's it called, danya, which they explain, Narada Muni explains that is one who's humble. Pretty much one definition of humility is someone who possesses all qualifications, but then he feels himself unqualified, all good characteristics and stuff like that. So we have to see. We should, if we're given some responsibility, but we don't feel qualified, then we should speak with devotees and see how it's actually going. If we're doing the service and it's okay, and our authorities are confident in that, then that's okay. But if we're feeling something's lacking, then we should speak and then we should adjust. We have to see the situation. So. Okay. Anything from the Mataji side?
Is this one? Thanks. I feel like at times when learning and acquiring knowledge from the Bhagavad Gita, it can lead to this mode of passion where you now feel entitled, that you believe that you know, and you're the all-knowing because you mastered a concept of many concepts. How do you, how do you surrender to also, I mean, you did speak upon this, but how do you surrender to just, even when you know, you actually don't know?
So one devotee one time told me a story in Hillsborough at the temple, and he was making the point that there was one devotee was going around and distributing books, and so anyways, he read all the books and he knew things, and so he would like just argue with people and then like smash them with the philosophy. And so anyways, he like recognized that, and he made the point to the devotee that, you're going and you're just destroying all these people and just frying them out, but the purpose of a brahmana is to speak and to purify a place and leave it more cleaner than it should be. So the point is that one who's actually situated in knowledge, to be situated in goodness means that there is some knowledge. And then with that may come some superiority, but one who is properly situated, he curbs that, but then he understands that like the point of this knowledge isn't to be a master of everybody, but to be a servant and to help them come up. So that one just has to have the proper understanding. So that is that. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. Srimad Bhagavatam ki.